Hello, beautiful mothers, beautiful sisters, all that feel called to the podcast. Welcome back to the Noble Mother podcast. I have a beautiful returning mother to the podcast today who's going to grace us with so much wisdom and medicine. This is Alison Janelle Kuepfer, and she's an intuitive mother of two now. And she is devoted to motherhood. She's a background in yoga, meditation, and a movement teacher, a human design guide, and is currently enrolled with the School of Breathwork to receive an international certificate in Rebirthing Breathwork Mastery. Allison leads her life with intentionality and purpose as she strives to live and parent in ways that break free from generational and societal patterns. Welcome, Allison, back to the podcast.
Hi. Yeah, I was as you're reading that, I'm like, I feel like we were just here in the most
We were just in July of this year, and
while
now
I was
you've given birth.
yeah, and now we're back.
I'm so grateful. Please, you know, move us because you shared Cade's birth story with your companion outside the system, and you are back today sharing the second birth of your beautiful baby outside of the system as well. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you and let you just lead us through all the wisdom that came through in this pregnancy and birth.
Yeah, I'm excited to share. I think I messaged you like wasn't long after my second son, we named him Levi Rhen Kipper. So after he was born, I'm like, I feel like we need to connect on the podcast and share. So this feels really good. But gosh, it was such a I've been calling this birth like a resolution. Um, and that word might not that I feel like that word might seem confusing to some people, but it really lands with me in a way that it's not that there was anything wrong with my birth with Kade. It was perfect and beautiful, and I'm so proud of it. And yet, from a place of growth, I could really see that there was a way I wanted to show up differently for this birth.
Mhm.
Um, Self-development, like in terms of I could get really specific on that, but I was just so aware of how my nervous system took over, and I knew I could do this again from a place of more nervous system regulation and have more space to respond in a way that I was really proud of.
Mm.
And yeah, and then it actually, um, you mentioned just in the bio, and I know you know Victoria, but I do a lot of breath work, and I had really set so many intentions for this birth. And every single one of them, like down to a T, came to fruition. And it was just so cool to see. And as I was naming all of these things to my breathwork teacher, she's like, I feel like there's a resolution you want to find in this birth. And I'm like, yeah, there's something really resonant about that word. And I'm so proud of my birth with Kade. And yet I see where I want to grow and how I want to show up in this birth a bit differently. Um, so yeah, I'll just start with that because that just felt really powerful to me.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and this birth was wildly different. Pregnancy wise, things were fairly similar. I felt fairly similar. There was a few things that were different, but it was a fairly similar pregnancy. Although with my pregnancy with Kade, for those who know the story, I was in system for about 14 weeks and
Mm.
in system at all with Levi and didn't do any. Whereas I would have done some blood work with Kade, I didn't have anything done in this round, and that all felt really good. There was such more of an ease. I've done this. I knew I would know if I needed to do any testing, so we never did anything. And Kade came at 38 weeks 38 weeks and a couple hours. So I was very prepared for another early labor, but I was still shocked. So Levi came at 37 weeks and 5 days, which, yeah, was a shock to me. But my babes seem to come then, and that's what it is. Uh, but yeah, so this birth was completely different. The only two things that actually were identical, well, obviously, I was birthed out of the system, same birth attendant, husband was there catching the baby. Those were all the same. The two other things that were the same, which I think are really cool, were both times 4 a.m. is when contraction started. And I've shared with you personally how 4 a.m. is just like this really powerful time in my body where things always happen. So both pregnancies, 4 a.m. contractions start. And both of my boys came the day after, I had that feeling of like, okay, essentials are done.
Mm.
Essential is done. Both of them literally went into labor the next day. It's so interesting. I'm like, it's yeah. So that's kind of wild. So those are the only similarities. The births were completely different otherwise. So yeah, it was Monday morning, October 27th. I woke up at 4 a.m. and Kade, snuggling with Kade, co-sleeping with my family. Kade woke up and needed me, and I felt a cramp, and I was like, I can have a lot of digestive cramps. So I'm like, like this is like could be digestive cramps. And we didn't sleep for about an hour, 2 hours maybe, but we both just kind of cuddled and Cade tried to sleep and it was actually just a really beautiful time. And cramps were coming on and off. And I was like, maybe this is something. But also, like I said, I can have digestive cramps. And again, if you heard my first story, with Cade, I just had cramps. Like I did not have true contractions up until the 3 hours I was pushing with Cade. So I really wasn't sure what I was going to get this time. I was like, am I going to get these typical contractions that start and stop and start and stop? So I was like, this could be labor, or maybe it's not. It wasn't intense at that time, so we kept sleeping. And at about 8, we got up about 8 a.m. So 4 hours later, and I was like, this is still here, and this actually feels like contractions. And it was kind of exciting for me because I was like, that had really thrown me off within the first pregnancy. I was like, it's just a single long cramp, so I can't be in labor. So I was like, cool, I'm getting contractions. And my first pee, there was mucus plug, which I know doesn't mean it's happening that day, but I was like, okay, things are happening. Like I think things are happening. I wanted to be awake for an hour, just kind of like by myself to be like feel into my body before I connected with my birth attendant or even like really confirmed with Rye that like yeah, I think we're on a like we're going.
Mhm.
But after about an hour, I was like, yeah, I think this is happening. And I called Jen, my beautiful birth attendant, and she was like, yeah, like this could be happening. And I was supposed to connect with her that day. It was on my to-do list of like, yeah, let's have a meeting this week. Like, let's connect, like, come, let's chat. But this was, no, I think I'm in labor. So maybe come have a visit and maybe you're going home and maybe you're staying.
Mhm.
So by about 9 a.m., so about 8 a.m. contractions were, I don't love the whole consistent. Some were 3 minutes apart, some were 4 minutes apart. The odd one would be 10 minutes apart. And I could really see where when I was drawn into the external world, they would slow down a little bit, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I was kind of in and out of that dance, but they were fairly frequent and fairly manageable from about 8 a.m. until noon. Uh, and so we started prepping the house. We didn't officially have a plan for Cade. Um, Originally, my plan was everyone will be together in our house. Like I can't send him away anywhere. And over time, it was him who was like, no, I'm gonna go be with Nanny. Like, I don't want to be there. Like, we really explained birth to him. And he told us many times he didn't want to be there. And I was like, you know what? You're so wise because I actually don't think I want you there. Even though there was this conditioning of like, you've already birthed on your own. Like sometimes it feels like there was a bit of judgment I had of myself of like, you've birthed on your own. Now the next steps are you free birth and you have your whole family there, and I feel like I did the opposite in the
Mm.
sense, no, I actually think I feels really aligned to not have my beautiful son Kate there for both of us. And I feel so called to bring in more support. Let's bring in a second birth attendant. And I want to establish our relationships more. And that has been a theme in this pregnancy for me of you're not here to do it alone. And that is aligned for some people, but it was so aligned for me to really call in support. So just that's kind of, yeah, just felt called to name that there on a tangent.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so we didn't have an official plan, but we called up my mother-in-law who lives locally, and we're like, would you take Kate for the afternoon? Like, I'm in labor. Um, we had a very loose plan. We really didn't want him spending the night anywhere else. He's never done that. But we did send him with an emergency bag in case like he needed to. But one of our intentions, strong intentions, was I'm going to start labor in the morning and we're going to be having dinner together as a family and baby will be here. And that was like a really strong intention that totally came to fruition. So at noon, at 11 o'clock, Jen was here, my birth attendant, and we chatted. And about that time too, I was saying bye to Kade. So about at noon, I was on the street saying bye to Kade, and that was kind of emotional for me because I don't know, I just knew it was the closing of a chapter. It makes me emotional now.
Mhm.
Like this is the end of our little three family, and when you come home, there's probably going to be four of us. Um, so then I came in and had a cry with Jen, and it was a really healing cry. And that's a moment too where I'm like, I'm so proud that I'm just crying right now because I really shut down those feelings in my birth with Kade. So that would be an example of where I was like, of the resolution of like, no, like I'm gonna show up so much more authentic and vulnerable in this birth, and I'm just gonna cry right now. I'm crying about the excitement and the grief and the fear. I had to take a moment to be like, okay, this is happening, and I need to cry for a moment, like
Mhm.
this, like because there is fear in birth for me. There's fear and pain. And I didn't know what this birth would be like. And that was another one of my intentions was I really want to hold space for I want to hold space for the pain better. I'm not going to let it take over me. I'm going to be with it
Mhm.
so much. And that is something I also did, which was so beautiful to see. Because the pain in my first birth really kind of, I see how it compartmentalized me and really held me, like it trapped me a bit, from being free to like really be in my intuition. So that was really beautiful too. But I had to have that moment of feeling and grieving that fear in order to really be with it.
Mhm.
So that all took place. Um, and then it just went into labor. That was at noon. I was saying bye to Kade, and Levi came out at 2:27. Um, and so it wasn't that long after. It was perfect timing in terms of Jen being there. My second birth attendant, Jess, arrived not long after, and they set up the whole house, with Ryan. I kind of labored in the bedroom for a while. They set up the pool, even though I didn't touch it. Um, yeah, okay, I'll get to that point in a second. So yeah, I probably laid in bed for an hour, and that's when I started messaging a few people. I was still like coherent. I messaged you, I messaged a few friends, like family, like this is going down. Um, then moved to the bathroom, which is what I did last time too. There was a sense of like, okay, I think my water could break. This bed isn't, even though it's set up, I really don't want to have my water break here. Bathroom is a very safe place for me. So I labored for a little bit on the toilet in all fours, just with like a bra top on. And then from there, I was like, no, let's maybe go to the pool. And I kind of crawled out to the living room, but I was like, no, I don't want to get in the pool. And I just laid on the floor on my side. Um, and not long after then, my water broke, and I was very nervous for my water to break because it would have broke with Kade. It trickled, and there was so much pressure. And then I was like, I just want to push. Like I hated the pressure. Whereas this time, it broke, and it was such a release. Like it felt so good, and I was like, guys, that felt so good. And like I was so much more coherent and in communication. Not like a ton, but that was another one of my intentions. I'm like, I actually want to be able to speak. I know I'm going to be inward, but I want to be able to communicate with my attendants. I want to be able to be like, hey, what do you think of this? Um, and I did that so freely, almost to the point of it kind of threw me off of how far along I was. Because I was like, I'm still talking, like not in the middle of a contraction, but I'm still coherent. So at that point, even after my water broke, I'm like, is there 5 more hours of this? Or like what, like how much more? Like I had no idea. And it really was just 3 or 4 more contractions after my water broke that he came. Um, so I'm lying on my left side, uh, fully on the floor, and then I had my top leg, my right leg, just up resting on the couch for a while, and that was just kind of my position. And the first contraction after my water broke, or actually right before the water broke, I did like insert my fingers, and I was like, oh, like that's bag is right there, like I didn't realize how close things were. And then the water broke, and then yeah, there was only about 3 contractions. They were painful, but not that they weren't like. the ones with Kade, I felt like they felt excruciating to me. And
Mhm.
there was a lot if people were to listen to
Yeah,
that
there
podcast.
was a lot emotionally that was moving through that space, you know. Yeah, yeah.
This was so much more easeful. Um,
And an established relationship with your companion, Jen, at this point. Like, Jen was just filling in for Billy for Cade's birth. Like, there were so many different moving parts. Like, you really had a lot of sovereignty in terms of setting the intention around how things were going to be, you
yeah,
know? And I think it's really great you named too that you were still coherent in between those contractions before giving birth to him because there isn't a textbook. I was the same way with Finn too. I was texting like totally normal and then he was born. So, you know, there isn't always this textbook way of how it is when a woman's acting to determine how much longer or shorter it's going to be, you know?
and I think that's one of my biggest, I would say, takeaway messages for people because that threw me off. Definitely threw me off in the first birth.
Mm,
Way less of it in the second, but there's still that like you're looking for the textbook, and I'm just so aware now of how different births can be, how
yeah.
everyone is so different, every birth is so different, and yeah, so many of the textbook things are just not.
Well, they're not relevant because it doesn't even take into account what's happening emotionally, spiritually, and physically for you during that moment in that in time.
100%. Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So water broke, and then there was I'm trying to remember. There may have been one contraction where just like I want to say nothing happened, but like maybe one contraction, and then the second contraction I and this is where I wasn't sure if this was true, and I'm actually curious your thoughts, like the whole like fetal ejection reflex. Like I didn't push at all. I'm just like, whoa, like a head just came out. Like and that was wild for me too, because like I shared in my first birth story, there was really a sense of I pushed too much. And I know that, your first birth, there may be more of that, but that was part of my stress response of like, something's happened to me. I need to act. I need to push. I
Hmm.
need to do something. Whereas I was in awe that like, I was like, I don't even have to push. Like, and just like head comes out. So both my boys too came out with a little hand by their head, both of them. Um, with Levi, because he was much more quicker, I did feel it. I was like, ooh, that's not like the lightning pain, but like something is hurting as you're coming out. He did cut me, like his hand would have tore me inside a little bit.
Hmm.
So I did feel that. It wasn't horrible, but like I did feel that. His head came out, and then there was like a giant pause and like this extra long pause and contraction where I was like, I just felt like I was hanging out. Oh, sorry. So at this point, I'm on all fours too. So after water broke, I'm like, let's get on to all fours. Head comes out. Mm, no, before head came out, I put my left foot forward. So I'm kind of in a
In a
staggered all.
lunge, yeah.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize till after was my entire first birth intention. I was like, I'm going to birth on the ground, like on land, and I'm going to birth in like a squatting position type, like lunge position. That was totally my intention for my first birth, which I didn't intentionally bring into this birth, but it came into it. And I didn't even touch the pool at all, which I wanted it there, but I was like, I don't know if I want it. I didn't actually want to birth Kade in the pool, but once I was in it, I could not get out. So that
Hmm.
was cool to see that I was like, whoa, like that's totally how I visualized it to happen. So my left foot's up, head came out, and then there's just like this pause, and I was almost like, this is too easy. Like there's no contractions. His head's out. And I remember saying like, Rye, like he's coming, like you're ready, like, and he's like, yep. And yeah, I don't know how long it was. It just seemed like an extra long time. And in my head, I'm thinking, do I push? Like, it's still wild to me that there was no like, because I had such an uncontrollable urge to push so much with Kate that just wasn't even there this time. And I was like, okay, the contraction's coming to ride. I'm like, I'm like, it's coming at some point here. And then it finally came. And I remember thinking, maybe I'll try to push. And I almost like couldn't. Like it just, there was no, and he just like popped out. Um, and I caught him and brought him up, and he had a really beautiful cry, like not immediately, but fairly soon, which was another part of my intention. I'm like, we're gonna have a really strong cry, and that will be resonant if you listen to my first birth story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, we're going for strong cries right off the get-go. And he did, and yeah, then we just sat down on the couch, and I was just like, what just happened? Like, that is so different than my first birth. And yeah, I mean, I can, maybe I'll take a pause there, but there's more I can share, obviously, of like what went down after. But yeah, it was so easeful. Yeah, was it painful? 100%. Was I glad it was over? 100%. But it really was such a resolution to me to see where, yeah, I just was able to show up so differently in so many of the areas that I really fell into stress responses where I didn't have the space to respond how I would have wanted to. And I really saw I was able to do that this time,
Mm-hmm.
which just felt so beautiful and so powerful. And yeah, it was a really, looking back, it was a really cool experience. And I was still in shock, even though I knew, I birthed Kate at 38 weeks, so I knew it was possible for him to come then. Mentally, I was like, no, they're not coming this week. Um, so it was such a surreal, I was in such a surreal space of like, oh my gosh. And he was a boy, and I totally have thought both my boys were girls. And that's still like I don't know, a girl spirit connects to me all the time. And I don't know if that's like a granddaughter, or if I will have another, or who knows what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. And as I say that, there's no, like, I truly feel, I know both my boys are here for a very specific reason, but there's a girl spirit that connects and guides things, and I don't know who she is. So it was, I will say, as we got closer to, my mom was like, I think you're having a boy. And I'm like, I feel like I probably am too. um, and if that was, so when I was like, yeah, you're probably going to be a boy. And he is a beautiful boy, and I have two beautiful boys, and I feel so blessed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of the gist of the labor portion and yeah, I'm just reflecting on my own here. Yeah, I may have mentioned this, but yeah, I was able to communicate so much more with Jen and have much more of an established relationship, and that just felt so beautiful. And um, yeah, yeah, really the way it is supposed to be in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm I really respect every woman's choice in how they want to birth, even if it doesn't align with me. Um, and I just, for me, I have always visualized like being surrounded by the right wise women. Like, yes, I'm here. Birth is all about, is such an intuitive process.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe being supported enough allows me to go deeper into my process. And that's what that was for me. Having wise women there for areas of things that I don't know about, and to support me and make me feel safe enough so that I can go deep into my own process. And that's what that was. And I'm so grateful. Shared with Jen a few times, and we both just cry, where I'm like, I'm in awe of what you guys do, because like it is a lot. You're holding space for a lot. It makes me emotional. They really are, these women who are these birth attendants who are birthing, being with women birthing out the system. They are holding so much, and I think so much more than we give them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful, because it was such a beautiful experience for me and my family and Levi.
Yeah. And it really allows you to continue on building such a beautiful, grounded family. You're not fragmented in the trauma, that's inflicted from what happens a lot in a system. So, and really, I think it asks you to come face to face with what your true intentions of life are, and setting that and letting that come through in your births and
Yeah,
then being held and supported in that way. So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I love that there wasn't that forceful pushing. And that's really something big emotionally that you've been journeying and traversing, right? So, I mean, that's just so huge to know that that's how powerful we are here. And, it's a secret that's kept from everyone is that when you set that intention, the pushing isn't needed. You're actually just kind of looking around like, wow, okay. I really am creating my reality.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. It was so,
Yeah.
yeah, it was such a beautiful glimpse of, yeah, my own growth and what is possible for all of us as human beings when we are intentional about things like that
Yeah.
and about our own growth and just really take ownership. Like there's so many areas where I could have looked at that birth and blamed other people for things. Like
Like Cade's.
yeah, like little things like even like my
Mm,
of like I was scared to ask someone to come sooner. Like I've heard women share birth stories and this is not I'm not judging because it's so real, but I can hear at times the blame
mm,
where and maybe not as much ownership at times
yeah.
of their own. Um, and I say that from a place of
Well,
just
you say
grace
that
and
from
love.
a place of someone who's doing their work, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's ultimately when
yeah,
you're on that path of self-reflection and self-healing. It's taking accountability for what parts you played and also what comes through and then what how you want to shift and change that.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's a small caveat I will in too. There's an area where I also self-blamed myself for things that happened in my birth with Cade, where I really had to let go of that too. It was like, no, no, no. I need compassion for myself.
That's right.
I'm not here to blame anyone. It's not anyone, or it's even not even me.
Mhm.
So it goes back to me too. Um, and there's a huge portion of that. But yeah,
I love that self-awareness. That's so key and it's
yeah,
so big.
yeah, 100%.
It's big. And I think it's big for women that are looking to work and invest in companions too, because really it allows them to hold even more space when they know they're working with an integrated whole woman and family who are self-reflective.
Yeah, and that is so key. And I can
It's
imagine
very key.
there's got to be a huge process for the birth attendants because yeah, you really do need someone who is truly taking on their full sovereignty and full responsibility for their life because that's what um, and that needs to be in place for this to go down beautifully.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, and it's such a gift when all those pieces and units can come together in that way. Um, yeah, I'm still in the
You're
even
still
though
in the bubble.
oh totally we're two and a half.
How did your placenta, how did the afterbirth go?
That came about half an hour later. I did lose a bit more blood than I'll say quote unquote normal, but we're fairly certain that's from being like the little tear I had inside,
Yeah.
little hand. So there was a bit more blood loss, and I did very quickly start to feel like, oof, I'm very weak. Like that came very quick.
Hmm.
I was never concerned about it. Lying down, both my attendants started just like adorning me with like all the comforts and um, homeopaths and kind of supporting me in that way. But I kind of just I laid down on the couch with Levi and my Ryan, my husband, my Ryan, um, and for about half an hour, and then I was like, let's. They were like, let's see if you do you feel like you have to pee at all, or do you want to sit up? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And I sat up and gave a little push, and then placenta placenta came out, and then was back to just yes lying on the couch for it seems like the time isn't even there. It's
Yeah.
probably an hour or more, and um, I think Levi latched maybe after like an hour, um, and then that whole time is like a blissful blur. So like we eventually brought Kate home about 7 p.m. And so we had from him being born around 2:30 to 7 p.m. just as like Levi and I and birth attendants just kind of cleaning up, and then we had about an hour alone before Kate came in, which was really beautiful. And again, we were so stoked that we're like, yeah, like Kate gets to come home, and like this total intention of like we want him preoccupied during the day, but we want him here at night with us. We all want to be in our family bed, and like it was just so beautiful how that all happened. Um, yeah. So it all feels just like that. The post birth felt pretty normal. I still am weak. But I feel like that is also normal, and I've just been so nurturing the rest and relax and just taking care of myself. And we're deeply cocooning right now, which feels really beautiful. And yeah, yeah, we'll be 3 weeks postpartum on Monday. So we're about 2.5, almost 3 weeks postpartum right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's so like, you know what I'm getting right now? It's a beautiful story to tell. And it feels so like, just like this is what we do. Like it's
Yeah.
birth. This is birth. And it's
Yeah.
easy. And it gets to be easy.
Hmm.
And it's normal. And it gets to be that cool and easy.
Yeah.
And there's a time and place to like, for me to feel the power around it and the normalcy around it.
Yeah.
Like,
I
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
It's really quite extraordinary to keep a narrative like this moving versus something that's so trauma fueled that
Uh,
keeps people so fragmented from themselves and their families.
yeah,
You know, it allows you to settle more and more into your work and your growth when birth unfolds that way.
100%. Yeah, yeah. Such a
Big.
such a normal gift, normal yet such an important gift to give ourselves and our children
Mhm.
to birth in this way, and yeah, and let it
And
be.
it doesn't come without inner work though. And this isn't the first time we've talked about this and that I haven't on this podcast, but it's a lot of your own self-reflection. It's a lot of, your own accountability for the parts that you do play in your outside world, you know. So I can appreciate, how that would be maybe uncharted territory in some respects. To move into a different path because that isn't something you'd have to do in a system. And it's things sometimes you don't have to do with companions too, depending on sort of what the unfolding process is or if it comes to that head. But it really is a lot of your own sort of inner work and inner dialogue.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Which is something that, yeah, comes very naturally to me in terms of it's just, I feel like I've been a self-reflective person for as long as I know.
Mhm. Yeah. But then also deciding to work in it as well and decide, how you want to grow and change in it. That's huge.
Yeah, 100%. And to walk, and like I've shared, especially this, I feel like this, yeah, I feel like both these podcasts of like both my birth stories feel like a real, like, a bookend to each other to see this, like, this just feels so easy to share. And it was an easy birth. And it's such a conclusion to what came before
Yeah.
and what I had to work through because I did, and I really need that in that podcast. I did choose the sovereign path, and it felt very hard to do that for me at times too. And I really had to grieve many things
Mhm.
and hold a lot of space to walk that path. Um, yeah, yeah, and then you see the result on the side. Yeah, it makes me like I don't know what we had planned. Well, in terms of I could easily say our little family of four is done, and yet there's part of me that's like, oh, I'm so curious what a third birth would be like. It just fascinates me. Birth fascinates me. It's so incredible
Mhm.
what our bodies do, and when we bring our intention into it.
Absolutely. I think there's lots of people that give birth fairly easily too that maybe aren't as connected. It just, I think there's so many different variances of what the actual medicine, is to be, you
Yeah,
know?
totally,
And it's so unique to each like individual journey.
100%.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah,
yeah, it's so unique. It's so unique to everybody if you, want to allow it to show itself and be in that. So And I think as women, we're sort of always sometimes processing parts of it or gathering understandings of parts of it too.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I feel very grateful and grateful to share this story. Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's so beautiful. And it's really, I don't even want to use it's powerful. And it's also so refreshing to continue these types of conversations and story medicine because it does ease the nervous system,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think when there's sharers around certain experiences, it's still this is get it gets held in the body.
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. And it's making me think how sometimes it's easier to share the hard story, the tragic story. Um, and I think it's just as powerful and needed probably to hear the easy stories.
Mhm.
Um, and like, there's even a feeling in me right now. It's like, oh, I almost need to be sharing more. There needs to be something weighty. You know what I mean? To make more of an impact. But no, this is how easy it was. And it gets to be that easy. And it shows how much I, even in myself, am attached to like things have to be hard sometimes to like feel good or to like really make that emotional connection. Or I feel that coming up
Or for it
now.
to be legitimate.
Yeah.
And right, for it to be legitimate. And I will say too, like, I mean, if you want to share like just your pregnancy, like just what you worked through, how you were feeling, and then also just a lot of work that you did, with your breathwork mastery certification too. Like there's so many pieces. It wasn't just like this like full on pregnancy of bliss and then full on catching your baby. Like there are emotional integrations and upgrades that happen as your human form carrying this baby to then, you know, move into that place.
That's very true. Both my pregnancies were very challenging,
Mhm.
physically, emotionally, so much nausea, so much
Yeah.
digest. And it's wild how that is just, especially digestive. My system is entirely different post baby. Like it's just wild. But yeah, I have both my pregnancies were very challenging to the point of getting pregnant the second time was meant I had to mentally convince myself that it wasn't going to happen again because that was that was hard to journey for sure.
And you called in, layers of support and
Yeah.
continue to try to, really nourish yourself. And so it's always such a journey when those souls choose to come here.
Yeah. I know so many, and I see all the lessons. I shouldn't say I see all of them, because there's probably more. I see the lessons Kade has brought in, and so I'm so curious to watch to see what Levi brings in, like just to see, like it's just neat. They're different people, different timelines. I'm different. Yeah, so the medicine will be different of what they bring in.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, boy, mama. It's like an honor
Yeah.
to
So,
raise these boys and in this time.
that's really important for
Yeah,
boys to have very integrated, grounded mothers.
yeah,
It's really needed. We need boys and men like that into the world. I think before more girls should come. It's a pretty important one.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. I
it's a
feel
big
like that.
one.
Is there anything else you feel called to?
Mm. Oh my goodness. I mean, I just think how profoundly restorative it is to hear to hear such beautiful, wise intention set and have it
Mhm.
come into your realm, to be your story. I think that's really powerful. And also just that your body got to experience, like, Allison, you don't have to push anymore. You don't have to push, you know, so hard. Yeah, I always am so amazed at the ways in which birth and these babies bring in such divine lessons.
Yeah, yeah. And this, maybe I'll just touch briefly on, and this probably showed up in the previous podcast, and you know this just as a friend, but yeah, the whole me letting go of I have to push so hard in life because life is hard has been such. I mean, it's been something I've been working with for a long time, but it was really, really clear to me during this pregnancy that was like, no, this has to end. Like this
Mm,
will not be carried forward. And I do a lot of breath work. I am in a breathwork practitioner training, and that was such a big part of my journey at 34, 35 weeks pregnant. I was at a breathwork retreat, and one of my main focuses was that life gets to be easy. And I had a very strong affirmation of both my maternal grandmothers just being with me. And there was like an ending of, it's like they had to say goodbye. And my mother. It's like I actually had to grieve like this, like saying goodbye to them. Like I see where I cling to life is hard to be connected to them.
yeah.
And my grandparents are passed, but my mother is obviously still here. So there was this feeling of like, yeah, you are moving on from this. Like you're no longer hanging on to this. And just as a side note, I'm from Dutch heritage. Both my grandparents grew up in Holland in the war. Like there's such a life is hard energy in my family. And there was such a powerful, I'm not saying it won't ever show up for me again, but there was a very strong, this is ending and you will not carry this forward. And yeah, I couldn't even push if I wanted to in labor. Like that's how it showed up for me, which
Which is so great.
yeah, it was really profound. And yeah.
And actually, they say too that if you have a girl, girls cycle the trauma that is unhealed through their mothers and their grandmothers because we're in their wombs, whereas boys do, they don't carry the womb. So they're severing that. Like they're sort of ending that with that mother. And
Mhm.
so that's generally why a boy will reside in the womb, in that way, which is really interesting. And that's not there's not one that is better than the other. It's just that girl would have been in, like you were, like I was. We were in the grandmother's wombs, in our mother's wombs to this time, which there are things that are very present. And so they stay present sometimes until it decides. And your daughter may alchemize it. They may not. And some people, that's why they'll have a boy first and then a girl, if that's sort of been healed, but not always. So every child is here to bring such beautiful lessons. And hopefully I didn't sort of butcher that understanding, but there is quite a bit that's passed through those holding in the womb in
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
feels very resonant to me when I think about, yeah, I was in my grandmother's womb.
Hmm.
I existed in my grandmother's womb during the war. Like that feels so resonant to me. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, could probably talk a lot about that. I am curious. So, like, I think maybe viewers know, like, we are dear friends, and we decided not to share any of this story with you before the podcast. So, I'm curious if there's anything that's like that surprised you about this story or birth, or like, is it what you expected, or
I never place expectations on anything because I just know and trust that what is to come comes. So I just was just lovingly, holding, all the ways that it wanted to be for you and your family.
yeah, I
You
felt that.
know, yeah, because truthfully, and this is the best part about being in friendship and sisterhood is that we know when things present, it's all for divine meaning.
Yeah.
I think we can hold just love and respect for the process, but also know like it will totally unfold, you know, as the medicine that is needed, really, that
Yeah.
is meant to come through. And there's always things to integrate too, like I'm only 2.5 years postpartum with Finn, but my big initiation still is I never had to push my babies out and, um, you know, caught them, but still felt very under-resourced and under-supported. And that's such a theme in my life. And so that is something, and that's no fault of anyone else's. This is my medicine to work through. It's my medicine to work with my husband, with my life, with who I am. And so that's why I'm sharing that is because there's just always so many pieces, like you said, that want to show themselves,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and that want to be asked to either alchemize it you know, or
Yeah.
let it, yeah, sometimes sit on the burner for a bit, depending on what resonates. But I really loved you had shared with me that week that the Monday Levi was born, you were going to sit and do a breath work around, what the process might be with Kade. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, but I don't think she's gonna get to that. I don't know why. I just thought like, and you had also messaged me like you did a big power clean. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I think
Okay.
she's
Yeah.
and
That's what.
you're like, oh, it's gonna be a few weeks. And I was thinking, I don't think it will be. But I mean, I didn't write any of that. I didn't say any of that back to you. I was like, yeah, like it's all gonna be in divine timing. And I kind of love that you didn't get to the breath work around Cade.
I don't
And
think you.
yeah, it would just felt like a very planny thing. And it was like, yeah,
I
that's
don't.
just gonna work itself out. Like,
And I'm actually so proud of how that happened. Like in terms of, it felt so beautiful to be like, we're in the moment and we're deciding. And
right.
what I did
Yes.
really was that, yeah, I did power clean my house that weekend. I invited like family over. We cleaned, and those 2 days. So he was born on a Monday, went into labor Monday morning, the Saturday and the Sunday. I had so much energy. And I was like, I said to we went for a beautiful walk on Sunday, and I said to Rye, this is freaking me a bit. Like, I don't think I should have this much energy. Like, but even still, I had like a whole week planned of stuff. I was like, not like,
No, yeah, you had done the big things, like you had
yeah,
said, like, yeah, all the
it was more
to-do.
like, yeah, Kate and I are going to this on Wednesday, and we're doing Halloween on Friday. And I still hadn't really, I mean, you don't know, you never actually know.
Yeah.
But when I look back, there totally were signs. And to your point, we weren't supposed to have a set plan for Kate. And it worked out beautifully.
Y-
And
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's why that's what's so beautiful about this life as well, when you settle into it and you
yeah,
just allow for what needs to present itself.
100%. And I think what's coming to me now is, and this is obviously just very resonant to me and my journey of life gets to be easy, but this birth was just a whole other realm of just showing me that, yeah, life does get to be easy. Like
Mm.
those glimmers keep coming to me from the intentions I've set of really switching that, because I have very much lived in life is hard.
And your ancestors too. So your ancestors are also ready. And the veil was so thin at that time too that it feels so beautiful that they would have hopefully felt, and I think they do feel the ripple effects of that life doesn't ha- life gets to be easy, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. How are you feeling? How's your heart feeling in postpartum?
Overall good. Overall really blessed. I mean, there's transitional moments that I feel hard at times for sure, like navigating the two of them. I often say, gosh, if I was doing just the one again, like a newborn again without having a toddler, it would be so easy.
Right.
But it's what is hard, and it's not even wildly hard, but it's the navigating both of them. But I am
Mhm.
actually so proud of how we're doing it. And my rise off for 10-ish weeks, which I feel so blessed. And yeah, it just feels like a really beautiful, supportive time. And overall, I want to say my heart is just like really full and blessed. And yeah, not negating that there's moments where I'm also thick in it and not getting a lot of sleep, and that's
Hmm.
what it is. um, but really proud of how we're handling it, which feels the most important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This is so beautiful.
No,
I don't want to wrap it up, but I feel like, is there anything else left on your heart to share? I mean, you know, did it feel so good this time around to really just get to know Jen? You
yeah,
know,
that felt so much more lovely to
it was
just.
probably lovely for her too. It probably felt like kind of a healing because I mean, I would imagine there's a lot to just sort of step into someone's birth if you had never met them, right? When they're on backup and things like that.
I
And I
talked to her
mean,
like
yeah,
she had to show up for, because soon after I birthed, Kade, Billy's husband, who was my birth attendant, passed away, and
right.
for a lot of births, and um, there there was a lot of people who were probably like, I want Billy, like she was my attendant, and that's not fun for Jen either. That's not
No.
fun either. So yeah, to the point of I could see how there could be like a, we haven't met, I'm not their technical first choice. How does this feel? And I think I shared in that podcast, I had no, I actually was like, this is the route we're going. And I felt really good about Jen there. And yet but yeah, there wasn't an established relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah, it felt, yeah, it was much more, I'm going to say easeful this time, and let me feel safe enough
Yeah.
to kind of go into the things, really like to be in relationship with her in the way I wanted it to be. Yeah, and I'm sure it felt better for her too, knowing me more, and she's already seen me birth and understanding, and yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
That was all. Yeah, it felt nice to be able to do it that way because that was a big part of the intention too. Of yeah, I'm not free birthing. I'm doing this with support, and we have a beautiful relationship, and yeah, and so they.
absolutely. I know there's so much to be said for support, you know, in all the ways, but and you have to do what feels aligned for you.
I think just if yeah, if there is anything else to add, it might just be I know you named the, I might not have the words for it, but the potential like not having the support and being in a season with that. And that has been something this pregnancy I've really had to lean into. And I've actually had to grieve, not, I don't know, grieve, I've had to actually unshame these feelings of needing and wanting support and knowing that I actually want a lot of support. In order to claim that, I've had to unshame it. Uh,
Mm, that's
Part of
big.
you're getting all the support means you're weak, you're not capable. And I've really had to shift some of that and call in a lot of support. And we both in pregnancy and now, I have a lot of support. I've been so nourished food wise from friends. I've had both my mother-in-law, my mother here. Like there's been a lot, and I feel like I can name that from a place now of like, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be, and it's beautiful. Whereas there would have been a time where I carried a lot of shame around that, feeling like
Mhm.
I need it
Yeah.
from like a weak place or embarrassed that I have it for just various reasons that are just really low level. Even to the point of, I know I've shared this with you, but going on a breathwork retreat 8 hours away in the States at 34, 35 weeks pregnant. In order for me to do that, I was going to go on my own, and it turned into no, I'm bringing my husband and Kate and my in laws and my parents. Like it was a total supported thing. Like, and I had to really be in my power to claim that, nope, that's what I want. And I feel worthy claiming that,
Yeah.
um, not being ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
That's a very personal like growth story to me, but I'll just name that. But otherwise, I feel like that's kind of it. And there's a feeling of, yeah, it gets to be this simple. That's what it is. And it's that simple. And that's what happened. And it was easy and beautiful and powerful and normal all at the same time.
Mm.
Just another
What a
day.
perfect way. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. What's my book here that this is the one I didn't send for you, but I love this one. My most magically ordinary day.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah,
That is
I
it.
know.
Perfect.
It's
Yeah.
the perfect, it's the perfect name. My most magically ordinary day. It's a
Yeah.
great birth book. What did I send you? Birth. I forget the
Earth is
name.
magic, which
Yeah,
we love.
Birth is Magic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. those are great ones for your babes to read to them. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I just love this so much.
Yeah, me too. It still feels surreal to actually be on the other side of it. Because I mean, I talked to you for a year prior to conceiving. Do you know what I mean? Like to to be here,
Mm,
baby birth side.
yeah,
There's a lot of surreal feelings around it. And yet, I will say at this point now, it feels so normal. And just this is what life gets to be. And I do get to. There's a part of me that I've had to like, even actually today, I did breath work and there was just tears of like, I get to be a mom of two. Like there would have been a time in my life where I wasn't even sure I would be. And I knew always knew I wanted to be. But I feel very blessed. Yeah.
I love that. Gratitude always feels so good,
Yeah.
and blessings feel beautiful in the body. So I think, that's a perfect way to kind of settle in. And of course, you can't get to that point unless there's been some muck traversed in there. But I also think it's really beautiful to be able to settle in sometimes to feel the gratitude and the blessing. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing Levi's beautiful birth story with us and Cade's, and for, the mothers and the families to really take in, all the medicine there. I know I just saw Rye before we hit record, you're right. And he was sort of like reflecting on, wow, like, I caught Levi. He was a bit slippery. Like he's still sort of integrating those things, it being different than Cade, being in the birth pool. But it's
Yeah.
always
I'm super, we haven't seen our video yet. I'm super pumped to actually watch it and see, because yeah, it was a different view for me too. Like in the pool, I could see so much more the position I was in, whereas I couldn't see as much what was going down.
right.
Um, I'm eager to just see it all from a different view. Um, but yeah, definitely still integrating for both of us. And I think seeing the video will integrate different parts. And yeah, because it all happens so fast too that it's hard to sometimes capture in the moment exactly certain pieces.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Mm,
yeah, beautiful ordinary day just says.
I
Beautiful.
love that. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your heart and your love. And I'm excited for you to watch your birth video. And thank you, everybody, for being here and taking in this beautiful story medicine from Allison and her family, and these beautiful companions that are walking this journey with families. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Allison. I love you.
Thanks for having me. Love you too, sister.